Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to take a look at the scenario where Nato and LeBron James go to war. Okay, so this is the 50 subscribers special. Yes, I'm serious, this is going to be the special, the longer with the special, and I'm going to thank you all, thank you guys. I have actually did it. I reached 50 subs. It's the first big milestone. But anyways, it might look like a joke war because yeah, this thing started as a meme on Discord, but now it's becoming a true war. And yeah, currently you only see NATO on the map, but I'm going to explain what happens currently. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to say is that the thumbnail, I did not make the thumbnail. It's made by another person, and yeah, credit to Riri for doing the thumbnail. And yeah, but now let's take a look at this now. So of course there is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I call Belarus too because they are allied to Russia, like they're on the Russian team. But yeah, we actually see this war gets a bit worse with all the escalations of the drone thing, and yeah, it looks like now the US are getting a bit mad at Russia, and some might start soon. Also, I only colored the European part of Russia, but if necessary, I will color or even the Asian part. But for now, we don't need that. And yeah, now let's take a look because yeah, we actually see that LeBron James is tired of war. But like seriously, he's tired of war. But not only him. Like he hates the current US government. He becomes pretty angry at the entirety of NATO because he sees it as an anti-Russia alliance. And yeah, we're now going to see some Lebronian insurrections here in California. I do not know if LeBron lives in California, but let's just say he's there currently. And yeah, along with his supporters and followers. He's going to on the streets and revolt. At first, it's going to be a peaceful protest, but since the US tries to suppress them, it becomes an all-out rebellion, and the NATO-Lebronian war has just started. So these currently are the front lines. The US were pretty cooked there. But now let's take a look at the rest, because Russia is now taking this opportunity because NATO is distracted. And we're actually going to see that Russians are making a useful offensive into Ukraine. But not only that, they're actually thinking about invading NATO because most of US troops are actually busy with this revolt. And now we're going to take a look at it again because it's not going good. But for now, there is no escalation with NATO, so we see just Russians advancing, and also Ukraine tries. This is what's happening. These are currently the front lines. It's basically almost a trench warfare, but without some need to support, we actually do say that it's becoming relevant. I'm not going to consider the Israel-Palestine war for now. Let's just say they peacefully united under a confederation, even though that's not realistic. But yeah, now let's take a look at this vote because older people are joining in because most people actually approve the LeBronian protest. Most are actually tired of all this endless war. But it's not only California who succeeds, because we actually do see Hawaii being taken over by the LeBronians. Now we're actually going to see that US abandoning Taiwan. Do you know what this means? Okay, so I still do not find. I'm still not coloring the rest of Russia, and just coloring some of where Russia borders with China. I'm coloring that because why not? But yeah, we actually do see that China will launch an invasion of Taiwan. Now I give this purple color for Taiwan. Yeah, China makes a big invasion because Taiwan is abandoned. They were actually prepared, yet Taiwan just cannot survive. For now, for now, China successfully conquered Taiwan. We will see how this will last. But yeah, let's just state that the LeBronians are actually now gaining support elsewhere. For example, we're actually going to see Greenland breaking away and joining up with the LeBronians. It's not a massive game changer, but it still is definitely something. And now we're actually going to see that the US is trying to push back a little bit, but the LeBronians are actually really good at war. They keep rolling from place to place. They're now gaining support from Mexico too. And yeah, but that's not the only thing, because guess who is about to rebel? And we actually see that the LeBronians have gained California, well, no, not California, Alaska, and the Canadian state. And yeah, we actually do see them that the further start becoming an all-out civil war. And Canada is just not having it with the US. LeBron is making Canada exist in exchange for a peace deal. Canada surrenders, but US does not like that. They send occupation forces and they occupied the zone, and now it's the US against the LeBronians in Canada. But this is not an approved move, because now we're going to see actually some countries leaving NATO. We're actually going to see Hungary leaving NATO, becoming their own thing. And this is because they're tired of this war, and the weakness of NATO is noticed by Russia. Now even Belarus joins in the war because NATO is very weak. And yeah, we're actually going to see that the Russians are making a big offensive, but somehow they did not manage to fully encircle and conquer all of this. This is the result of the front line. Ukraine is actually keeping on advancing here. And it's pretty much a stalemate. And after Ukraine manages to do another relevant victory, and Russia conquers this, the borders now are better. Yeah, it's another stalemate. What a wonderful thing. But now we're actually going to see Putin becoming crazy and decides to just, have a small thing over. They connect this, and now they're at war with NATO. And yeah, but they're not even have to fight NATO, because the Baltics are actually surrendering to Russian forces. Yep, they they are tired of the US. And now we're actually see that Russia. Hold up. You guys can see I added the occupation forces. The purplish thing in Canada is the US occupation forces. The Libranian don't have occupation forces because it's all rebellions and stuff, and they're basically annexing everything. China does not, it's not an occupation forces because they annexed Taiwan. Russia does have occupation forces in Ukraine. And yeah, we're actually going to see. That's yeah. Now even Finland is leaving the war. Finland left NATO, and they got tired of this war. They now want to chill, and yeah, Russia might win this without any problems. This offensive into NATO leads Ukraine to a pretty major pushback, though. Here they're still getting stuck, though. And yeah, now it's becoming pretty chaotic. And NATO is actually pretty unstable because we're going to actually see Serbia joining in the war, and no, they're not taking Kosovo. Well, they're still cold, not gonna lie. But yeah, we're actually going to see Serbia invading Kosovo. And after this, the US are just going to declare war at them. NATO as follow, but you actually see that Montenegro just peacefully unites, and I'm actually going to use the same occupation forces. Hold up, that's an occupation. Well, I'm just going to swap the colors for Serbia because why not? And yeah, they have small occupation forces into Albania, and yeah, this is pretty interesting. And now we're actually going to see Croatia deciding that wait, not Croatia. So we're going to see Cyprus living, and now we got skin Cyprus. So tough. And it's not going that good. We're actually going to see Iceland surrendering to the Lebronians because it's actually still working. Not only that, we actually see this island making an insurrection, and we're actually going to see, surprisingly, most of Canada rebelling and basically joining up with LeBron James because everybody loves LeBron James and his wonderful tactics and how he because his warfare is like very modern. It's not only basketball games, but yeah, it's like very interesting. Oh yeah, the thing doesn't exist anymore. The Canadian occupation forces are dead. Well, not the people, like they're not dead. The people are not dead. Just the government. And yeah, it's oh my god. Yeah, someone told me. Yeah, oh my god. I'm not going to cut this. I'm not going to cut this. Yeah, we're oh my god. Tulsi, California falling. Tulsi, California surrendering to the power of the Lebronians are actually going to be some states. Ohio is actually making an insurrection, the Ohioan insurrection. And of course, it's Ohio. We're actually going to see most of. Also, Florida is going to join up with the LeBronians. See, actually, most of some states joining. Yeah, and then NATO is actually pretty screwed. They do not know how they survived. By the way, China is now helping Russia into invasion of Ukraine, and there are actually both sides are tired of this war because there is no winner. There is no clear winner because both Russia and Ukraine are making advancements. They're actually going to meet and discuss for peace. But first, we're actually going to see Russia keeping on trying to invade Poland, which is a pretty strong country. And they're in NATO just to fight Russia, they're not surrendering it. Basically, most of Northern Europe is still fighting on NATO side just to stop Russia. Yeah, no. Oh my god, I said yeah another time. Sorry, guys, it's I cannot do anything to stop. Now we're actually going to see Hungary joining in, and they're actually going to attack Slovakia. They join last minutes and take over Carpathia from Ukraine, and with Hungary even betraying NATO, we see that the alliance is collapsing, but it's still alive because of some people. But now Romania is saying, oh no, we're not giving up Transylvania. And we see Romania declaring their full independence from NATO. Well, no, it's not independence because it's a military alliance. It just represented them on the map because it's just represented them on the map. Now we're actually going to find occupation forces color, and I'm going to find it with you guys. Here we got. So interesting. It's surely an interesting war going on. They're actually going to see that Texas. Yeah, they cannot have a nug of. They have a nug of this government. All of this is breaking away. To actually see the US doing something useful, the high end rebellion will be crushed. All of the members will be put to jail. This infuriates LeBron, which says they're going to avenge their high end brothers. I don't know if this sounds cringe, but I do not care. I'm giving Riri the link to LeBron James where I promised him. And they're actually saying Newfoundland falling to the rebellion. But then NATO is going to get it back. So it's basically a stalemate. And not only that, oh no, NATO's making a counter attack somehow. Or we actually see that some US troops somehow survived north. And but now actually to the west coast. Because look at the offensive of Majestic LeBron. Even more people joining and support it. Even though Texas is actually starting to lose, like the rebellion are starting to get pushed back because they're isolated. No, not Mexico. Even though Mexico is supporting the Lebronians. Now the US is actually thinking of declaring war on Mexico for this. And they probably shouldn't. But they're thinking, and we're to see that. Yeah, they're connecting each other. Sorry guys, I keep saying yeah because it's my habit. One day I will actually stop saying that. Maybe. Depends. Merry Christmas, everybody. Here we go. Why I'm not cutting anything? Because guys, you guys deserve a long video. You deserve another one. And I will not split this into parts. You guys deserve one long singular video and big one. So, but now let's take a look at the peace treaty for the war in Ukraine. Okay, this is the peace treaty. We actually see Russia annexing most of eastern Ukraine. Ukraine is still surviving as an independent government. And then we actually see that Ukraine is banned from joining NATO or the EU for 10 years. Ukraine is not joining again NATO though. Even though they're still supporting the US in their civil war because it's the second American Civil War. But now let's take a look at Turkey. Oh, well, that's reasonable. Turkey has just left NATO. They got tired of all of this. And they're now sticking by their own. Now we actually do see that Albania and Serbia are doing trench warfare. Like both of them are gaining territory And also this actually going to say that Serbia and Hungary are working together now to just knock out NATO. NATO is not feeling so good, but Albanian nationalism is saving them. It's saving the entire Balkan front. Not going. But now we're actually going to see Bulgaria deciding to let. Here we go. We see Bulgaria left NATO and they're now sticking around alone. The entire alliance is falling apart. But meanwhile, the peace treaty took place. NATO was actually able to push Russia back. Poland was actually doing pretty good. They actually almost fully occupy the entirety of Kaliningrad, and the war with Russia might turn around. Until we see these islands, I think the islands are called, but yeah, these ones are getting conquered by Russia after a naval battle. The Russian Navy will lose these islands, though, will lose this battle for this island. Sweden will win that. And yeah, we're actually see this is, oh my god, I'm keeping saying it. Guys, I'm not stopping anytime soon, just face it. And now the war, it's becoming pretty almost a stalemate. Let's go back to the US, shall we? Oh my god. The LeBronians are absolutely destroying everything. They're reconquering everything. The US might be cooked. Florida is isolated though, and another rebellion will be put down. Of course, everyone sent to prison and stuff. You're actually going to say LeBron saying they will avenge the Floridian brothers. And they will have to avenge another rebellion though, which because Texas has fallen. But it's not going to end well for the US. Like they saved their east coast, but their government is pretty unstable. And also, a very funny thing is going to happen. Italy is switching sides. Of course they are. And Corsica will be immediately taken by the Italians. I also chose Malta to be in NATO, even though I don't know if they are. Maybe they aren't. It's still getting invaded by Italy. And now they're going to work together with Serbia and Hungary. The reason Italy switched sides is because of land, and everybody wants that greedy land. They're actually the occupation forces color for Italy is going to be this one, and they're also going to occupy Corsica. They're also going to occupy all of this. All of this is becoming occupied by Italy. In the Alps, nothing is happening because mountains. But we now actually see Catalonia revolting. And guess whose side are they joining in? Of course, it's the Lebronians. And the Lebronian Republic of Catalonia has been declared. And now LeBron James will make an incredible announcement to all the country, and all he will state that the Lebronians and all of their legacy. He said Napoleon was a great man, and now he will call all of the states that will join him sister republics. We see the Alaskan sister republic, the Hawaiian sister republic, the California is the main state. It's Lebronia. it's the Canadian sister republic, Greenland, Iceland, and now Catalonia became the first quote unquote European sister republic. Well, there is also the wonderful, of course, this sounds revolting. Yeah, islands in the Atlantic are probably they're very easy to conquer, and they're conquered. And yeah, I said yeah again. I said it again. Well, that doesn't matter because now we're going to see the British Navy trying to help the US. They will sail and attack Iceland. Iceland has no military, and most of the island is getting conquered, but it's not falling. The resistance is yeah, they're falling, sadly. Wait, nope. A city is still going to resist, even though the British are doing a good job at reconquering everything. But now let's take a look at this front, because Russia decided that it's time to lock in. And here they go. They start a Kaliningrad liberation campaign, but now they actually promise Poland that they will be allowed to live if they leave the war now. Poland is going to refuse though, and they're staying with NATO. And now Russia is punishing them by doing a pretty big offensive. But this leaves space for other NATO things. For example, we're going to see this island getting reconquered, and the naval battle is going to really liberate Kaliningrad. Going, it's a bad color. Okay, this one is a bit better, but yeah, we see it's happening. Now the Catalonian sister republic is gaining more support because we actually see Northern Ireland. What? No, it's not Northern Ireland. It's a bit unrealistic. We're going to see Galicia revolting, and the sister republic of Galicia has been created. Also, the Basque country, sister republic. Spain is in shambles and they're surrendering. Good jobs. But now we're actually going to see the occupation forces of Lebronia have finally been unleashed. And they're marching into Gibraltar, conquering it, and also going to invade Portugal, which is also going to surrender and fall over to the sister republic. And now all of Iberia has been conquered. Now let's take a look at the Italian gains, because they connected themselves together with Serbia. And now they're actually making a naval landing into Albania too, and this is going to be no, it can't be Occupation Forces call there because see. So this is going to be the occupation forces for Albania. So we're going to say Greece leaving the war, and this is the new Balkans. We actually see Albania fell over, and Greece and Macedonia and North Macedonia left NATO. And now the alliance, the North Atlantic Alliance, which dominated Europe for years and years, is actually falling off now. Not only that, now Canada is revolting fully against the US government. They had enough. Not only that, but the British get kicked out. And now it's not going pretty good. Not only that, LeBron is going to say to the states where nothing happens to revolt but now they can become relevant. This is what's happening. All of these middle thing states, not all of them, but some of them are joining. It doesn't go how to plan, you guys will say, because they get crushed. The US military is still pretty good despite them losing half of their country. They're also pretty patriotic and nationalistic. But LeBron is now re-entering Texas. This leads to the entirety of the state refalling over and the revolt once again. Florida is still American though, and this is going to be the new front. Yeah, we see that now Donald Trump is declaring martial law, and this is not going to be good. That's what we see all together, the entirety of the south of the US. Six seats, they're going to their secession, like they're leaving the state. That's it. It's not game over for the US yet though, as they still are doing, they still are invading, they still are fighting, and they're still somehow winning battles, but it's really small advancements, and we see that the time might be up for the USA, as we see Ohio, nope, as we see Ohio revolting once again. And now it might be the dawn of a new era because the LeBronians are now marching all together and they're going to do the march of the good people. And they're actually going to do this. Peace. Now now they don't fight anymore. Now most people surrender without fighting. Now the US are becoming just a large land where LeBron can walk into and begin building his wonderful empire. And we actually see this leading to all of the getting. But now there are 13 colonies. The former 13 colonies still fighting. It's probably going to be the hardest to conquer. Here we see all of the Trump loyalists, all of the remaining of the army, which is still pretty strong. And it might be the beginning of the finale. As we see now, the Russians taking advantage of this. NATO's are now busy trying to help their strongest country, Paul, to rebuild. We're going to see Russia gaining military access from Ukraine, and Ukraine, those things long. Ukraine gave them military access because they didn't want another war. Oh, the year is 2025, by the way. So in the modern day, we're seeing a LeBron James revolution. But how is it going in the Alps? Well, not that good. Like it's still a pretty much big stalemate. Actually going to see Bavaria joining up and becoming the the Bavarian Sister Republic. In the middle of Europe, a new country just joined in. Well, it's not a country. Anyways, you're going to see Italy trying to make an offensive against the French. And the French are going to do what they usually do, of course. Despite the Italians being not that competent, and despite the French actually winning, like despite them winning most battles and actually entering into the Italian territory, the French are still going to surrender over the mighty power of pizza. They're actually going to eat a pizza, meanwhile passing, and yeah, they're just surrendering to have infinite supplies of it. So Italy, they're surrendering. This means Italy can annex all of this without any problems. And now Italy is becoming a bigger country. Of course, Malta got annexed too. The Balkans are probably going to get annexed pretty soon. France is still fighting against the Lebronians though. But at this point, most of the people are sick of their government, they're tired, and Normandy and Britain in revolt, and the the Britannian Normandy sister republic gets created. LeBron is a big fan of Napoleon, but never actually going to see that Bavaria is getting a bit crushed by NATO. They're sending in all of their forces to defeat the rebellion, and the Bavarian sister republic has fallen. Their death won't be in vain. LeBron declares that they will avenge Bavaria, and also somehow NATO managed to push back Russia, and it might be the last time they manage to do it. 36 minutes. Guys, it's all for you. You deserve them. Now we're actually going to see the finale, US versus LeBron. LeBronians are actually making their first move, sending in their troops and attacking and attacking. Now we're going to see actually connecting their land, and the brutal battle takes place here. The US still lose. It might be the end, and it might be it, because the US is still making pushbacks. They're still somehow trying to resist, but their attempts are getting futile. They can barely recapture Carolina. I think, yeah, Texas Carolina. They can barely recapture that. And now all of this it's happening. And now LeBron is making a deal with Russia to work together to defeat NATO. Who does this small land? It stands no chance. And this is what is happening. LeBron and Russia are now working together. NATO is kind of cooked. Despite that, somehow the US still managed to win another battle, just to lose here. And also, the Lebronian occupation forces are now going to be pretty useful for this battle. So this is all the land the Lebronians have occupied, and it's not a lot yet. So they're going to say now Operation Ohio has been. Wait, let me think of a name. Operation Rising Sun just being announced. It's an operation to defeat the US, and to make the dawn of New Year. This land got recaptured, that's why it's not occupation forces. The new era is marching. New sun is rising. Day after day, the US get weaker. Despite Trump still saying that they can do this. It's almost the end. But the US are still surviving for now. We have to take a look at Europe. because the UK just became the leader of NATO. Zam. And also, France is now fully revolted. And yeah, the full, I had to say yeah at least one last time. These are going to be the borders. I forgot what they were like. Almayo. So we're going to see this up. Here we go. France is fully revolted. Their last is occupied by Belgium for some reason. We're actually going to see the Russians with high morale because they're collaborating with LeBron, and now they have LeBron James merch to motivate them. Yeah, with that, they're absolutely winning against Poland. The front gets changed. It's almost the end. The end will happen. After this, Sweden and Norway are now leaving NATO. And it's been a long journey, it's been a long era, but now NATO has to fall. This is what most LeBron will say. Never disappoint LeBron, guys. Worst mistake of my life. We should say the UK is not happy at all about this. No, Poland. Straight up surrendering. They're tired of this war. Czechia is actually going to leave NATO. Yeah, we see Pink Czechia forming the formation of Pink. I'm going to see the LeBronian occupation forces returning once again to face off the Belgians, which don't stand a chance and they get defeated. We'll see Bavarian Sister Republic coming back once more. This time, they're connecting this. It's a much bigger revolt. Much bigger revolt. And Luxembourg has been defeated. Now most of NATO is thinking about they're tired of this war. They're thinking about surrendering and understand that LeBron is going to win. Trump does not understand that though. He's ordering another vision which goes decently. The Operation Rising Sun is still continuing. And it's going on pretty good. And now the end of the United States looks near as Boston gets conquered. I think it's here Boston gets conquered. Goodbye. Now vision is keeping going up. And it's almost the end. Most of the US has been captured. Now there's going to be the final counteroffensive. It's going to be a success. It could have changed everything. Could have led to the US winning, but it won't. Why? Because the general gets jailed by the people, and also Trump gets him jailed. And now, the United States of America have officially collapsed, and they surrender all over to LeBron. The official surrender of LeBron. Only a few nations are remaining, and Germany is surrendering too. along with all of the Benelux, they're surrendering. Denmark and the UK are the two remaining. But now the Scottish sister republic is revolting, along with the Northern Irish and along with the Welsh, along with the Isle of Man. With this, the United Kingdom is only England and Denmark, the few left. But then, after the Russian capture of this island, Denmark is surrendering. This leaves England, which has a revolution, and of course it's a Liberalian revolution, and it's leaving the Cornwall sister republic to get created. And now, with the death of NATO, this war concludes, and the Russia and Liberia are now working together to shape the new world and to take a look at the peace treaty. It's a long video, but you guys deserve all of it. Also, China will annex Taiwan after this, and it will be recognized because LeBron doesn't want to fight another big power. He's anti-war, he's tired now. He wants to sleep. Here is the peace treaty. First thing is that the United States of Lebronia are created, and it's basically most of the core territories of Lebronia are into this. See the Hawaii, California, Alaska, and also Greenland decided to unite, yeah, because there were also polls and stuff to see who wanted to join the United States of Lebronia, which also has some overseas territories over here. Yeah, it probably has the most powerful navy in the world now, and definitely the most powerful army. But then we actually see that all of those, do you guys see those orange countries? Yeah, of course, they also think this thing is also, yeah, Lebronian. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I say yeah when I don't know what to say or I forget. That's why I say it. It's not only that. We also see that sister republics are becoming a thing now, and most of Europe, most of Eastern Europe is a sister republic. First one is the Canadian sister republic, and of course they're all allied with each other. There's going to be the Economic Liberonian Association, similar to the European Union, which doesn't exist anymore, and interesting. Iceland is a sister republic. We see Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, and also we're going to see the island of Man becoming a sister republic. It's a lot. We're totally going to see Normandy, Brittany, Aquitaine, and some French regions and the French sister republic. We see Galicia, the Basque countries, Catalonia, and Spain here. Also some Gibraltar. Gibraltar is becoming Spanish. Really tough. We see the Portuguese sister republic, so it's not just one giant blob. It's a series of sister republics. Thus we see Bavaria and most of, actually not all of Germany. Here, this is what's going to be. Denmark is also expanding, and it's becoming a pretty important country now. Now we're also going to see that Belgium will get punished by the Lebronians because they didn't do that good stuff. They got punished, and they got annexed by the Netherlands, and even Luxembourg got annexed by the Netherlands, and the Republic of the Benelux is just born, made by Lebronia to try and unite the people of the Benelux. We do actually see here Italy becoming a major power, is also a rival state of Lebronia to control the Mediterranean. And yeah, we're actually see that most of the Balkans, we're actually see that Hungary makes a puppet state here, and Hungary annexes all of Slovakia and Transcarpathia. Serbia also expands and annexes Montenegro, some Croatian land, some Albanian land. been survives though. All the states that left NATO are alive. Denmark got expanded. See, yes, Sweden lost. Some people lost islands, some countries and land. We actually see Russia becoming huge, and they take like all of the Baltics, half of Poland, some islands, and then they make a puppet state into Poland. And now this is the end. This is the end of the NATO Lebronian War, the legendary war, one of the most legendary wars, the most legendary war in the millennium. This has shaped a new era for the world, an era of peace, an era of the LeBron. The age of LeBron just started. Thank you guys so much for watching this very, very long video. This is also going to probably be premiered. And so thank you guys for watching this. It's been a long project that I made. And I'm really happy that I managed to finish this. And it's now an actual video. Also thanks to Riri for the thumbnail. You deserve this video. And also you guys deserve the video. Now what's next? Probably my normal schedule is coming back. And yeah. Okay.